Hello everyone. Today we are going to visualize bubble sort, which is a simple sorting algorithm in our HTML file using JavaScript, CSS and HTML, so let's begin. Let's first add our boilerplate quickly, then add a section tag to hold our elements and give it a class name as box, then add a div element with class as imp. Now add an input tag with type as text and some placeholder as you like. Then add a button with class name btn and an onClick event, give it any function you may like. I gave it sort. The other input box is not necessary, it's optional. Now create another div tag with class and ID. This is where our result will be shown. At the end add a script tag with your JavaScript file path, also add your style sheet in the head tag. Now we are done with the HTML file. Let's head to our CSS file. Now, in the CSS file make margin and padding as 0 to all the elements. Then give body a background color of your choice. I am giving it a linear gradient of dark slate gray and midnight blue with background repeat as no repeat. Make its height full and center its child elements using flex properties. Now, select the section tag by its class name box. Give it any style you want. I am giving it a blur effect using backdrop filter with border radius of 10 pixels. Add position as relative and align the items using flex. Now, let's style our div which holds the output. Give it a width of 90% so that output won't go outside of the div tag when you want to increase the font size. Set word wrap to break word, give any font color, and we are done with the output box. Now, in the below CSS code I have just styled the button and input tag. It's optional. If you want to make it look better you can do so, or you can continue. So let's skip it, and go to JavaScript file. In the JS file create a const named as div, and store the input element in a div variable by targeting it by its element. Next create a boolean variable named working, which will help us in controlling unwanted intervals. Create a function known as sort, and this is where our code goes in, but first. Add an if condition which will check if the input is available or not before we start sorting the numbers. Here we will check if the input field is not empty. If true, that is empty. Then we will return nothing and alert the user to enter numbers, and if it's false then we continue to sort the numbers. The tim variable I used is for setting custom time for the interval. You may add if you want. Add another if condition to check if the output field is empty or not, to avoid unnecessary outputs, so that every time we start it should be clear. Next, create a variable n to store the value of input we are providing, then create another variable as val where we'll store our output as an array. Store length of the array in a variable. The values stored in the array are in string format, so we will do type conversion by using parseInt method and use it in the loop. Next, create two variables which will be used in swapping the number. Then, add an if condition which checks if the working variable is true. If true then, we will change it to false and clear the interval using clearInterval method. Now, let us create an interval and store it in the variable, which can be used to refer to the interval while clearing it. Add an if condition to clear the output field, then add if condition to check status of working variable. If it's false then we will make it true. Now it's time to swap the values or implement the bubble sort concept, so just swap the values with the if statement and then we increment the variables. But before that we check if the value of second variable has reached the end value of the length of our array. And if it's true then we increment the first variable. And set the second variable to first plus 1. This if condition will act as second for loop in the first for loop. Inside this add another if condition which will check if the value of first variable has reached the end of the array, and if true. Then we clear the interval which will end the looping of interval. If above's not true then we increment second variable's value by 1, and at last, we will update the output by assigning out whole array to the div's inner text. At last we close the interval. Now, we have working bubble sort looping interval.